What up, y'all? Mic check 1 2. What it do? Welcome back to the Mic Check podcast. This is T Word. Thanks for tapping in. Today we're going to be talking about Errol Spence Jr. and what's to come in the next few months, or maybe the next couple of years, or what we expect to happen. But before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate that feedback. All right, y'all. Let's jump right into it. Saturday, July 29th, Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford, it finally went down after years and years of posturing and promoting and trying to put this thing together. They finally got into the ring. And by all accounts, this was a one-sided victory for Terrence Crawford. Anybody with a pair of eyes saw that he proved that he had the better skills and he had the better game plan going into the fight, and he executed it flawlessly. Now, that being said, over the days after the fight, there's a few things that I've actually addressed on live and some things that have come out over the last couple of days, which has actually delayed me making this video because I really wanted to sit and take some real time to think about what makes sense for Errol Spence, considering the fashion in which he lost his fight. This was definitely a one-sided beatdown. And in the days after the fight, some things came out. First, there was some random person who claims to be a doctor who did a call-in on a radio show for a boxing channel, and he explained some things about neurological damage and stuff like that related to his car accident, and obviously a career in boxing, right? When I first listened to the video, I was really upset after I listened because I felt like, number one, it kind of discredits Terrence Crawford's victory. He came in and did what he had to do, but then it also paints a picture of, number one, Errol Spence Jr. as somebody who put money over his health for the most part, and then also a family and team around him who was willing to do the same. And then it also questioned other medical professionals, which don't make sense to me. Somebody who is in your field, you typically try to hold a level of respect for them because you want them to have that same thing for you. So you really wouldn't roll people under the bus. So let's fast forward past the BS. Eventually on Tuesday, more news came out that Errol Spence had suffered a rib injury at some point during training camp, and he was unable to spar for roughly 6 weeks leading up to the fight. And then he spoke about timing being off and it just wasn't his night. And then he gave credit to Terrence Crawford for being the true champion. So that being said, he also got on social media and he basically said, I wouldn't give an excuse even if I had one. I'm raised on old law. And he doesn't have to give an excuse. His team doesn't have to give an excuse. If the information is out, it's out. There's reasons and there's excuses. While I believe that if he was injured, they should have postponed the fight. He's not looking for a pat on the back or attaboy for showing the warrior spirit and going in the ring, but we're going to give him one anyway. If you were injured, you got in there, you tried to bite the bullet. Hey, it is what it is. I don't believe that I personally would have taken Terrence Crawford that lightly and taken the chance to true damage if I had a bad rib thing in a boxing match. But hey, we're different people, right? Y'all drop down in the comments. Would you have competed anyway, or would you have tried to push this fight back? And remember, you have to consider the legacy of this fight as far as everything that led up, the storyline. You got to consider that. And even with that in mind, I still feel like I'd have asked for an extra month just to get myself together and push this thing back. But that also explains why he was quick to talk about a rematch, because he knew something was off. So I'm going to do a little bit of stretching here, some mental gymnastics, and I'm going to put the pieces together before I give what I think should be next in line for him. So walking into the arena, doing his pre-fight interview, watching him warm up, all these different factors. One thing I noticed is he had this glazed look in his eyes. And if you've ever partaken in edibles or you ever smoked a little weed, or maybe even did like a certain type of pain medicine, you get that look, you get that high look, right? He kind of had that. And I was like, man, that would be weird if this dude smoked. But I remember listening to boxers saying sometimes they've done things before a fight, like hours out, thinking it was going to calm them down enough to get some rest and then get into the fight and it will be out of their system. My opinion is if he was medicated for the pain, he took maybe a little bit too much of something, they missed the dose some kind of way, it was off, and that led to him being sluggish, which obviously is going to lead to your timing. And if you have something that gives you like that NyQuil effect, if you are feeling sick and then you bump your head, you're going to feel a little bit worse. And I think that that's kind of what might have happened here is once he started getting hit, the effects of that medicine multiplied by 10. So he had that real Bambi leg drunk look going on. And I think that it really impacted his ability to defend himself more than anything. Offensively, it seems like he was kind of okay. He just was a hair late, and Terrence was a hair faster. And it showed. That's a big difference in the fight when everything is snap, 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 milliseconds. So, in my opinion, the way I felt about a rematch on Saturday going into Sunday versus the way I feel about a rematch now on Wednesday, I'm okay with the rematch if he was impaired because of some type of medication. If this is just a BS excuse, I don't want to see him fight Terrence Crawford again. Now, ultimately, I'd like to see him go to 154 pounds no matter where his next fight is at. And I would like to see him continue as a fighter until he decides it's time to hang it up, or until we see something. If we see a repeat of this in his next fight and it's not Terrence Crawford, then there's definitely something else wrong. And maybe that quote unquote doctor is onto something. But without knowing who that person actually is, I'm not putting a lot of credibility into those statements. I'm just going to say that it looked like he had a really off night. And if he was injured and medicated, trying to just cope with the pain and get through the fight because there's a lot of big money on the line, it is what it is. I probably would have asked for more time, but I do want to see him continue fighting. I think that there's opportunities at 54. Bring up Keith Thurman, get him up there now, because I don't think Keith is going to want to fight Bud after seeing what he saw. And I don't even remember hearing him say that after the fight, but he talking about getting in the ring with Clarissa Shields and only throwing jabs and some crazy shit. But in the end, man, I would love to get you guys' thoughts. Let me know what you think. Should Errol Spence continue boxing, and should he ask for a rematch if what has come out is actually true? And do you believe that? Do you believe that this information was leaked by his camp, or do you think that somebody just wants to let the world know that he just wasn't at his best that night? But this has been T for the Mic Check Podcast. Thank you all for joining. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.